Sanctuary. How did the band start?
It started with just Lenny and Sean, the guitar players, and they found some money on the street, a couple $100, and decided to buy a guitar. And, you know, they were into Judas Priest and, you know, a lot of European metal, Accept. And so anyway, they started a band, and I was working in a pizza place, and Lenny was coming in the morning as a janitor, cleaning the place, and then would go home and write songs. And I was listening to Metallica, headbanging to Whom the Bell Tolls as I'm getting my pizza station ready. And then he looks at me and goes, "Hey," I had long hair. He goes, "Do you play?" I go, "Play? What do you mean?" He goes, "Do you play guitar? Do you play bass?" Just in specific. I said, "No, I just love metal." He goes, "You got cool hair, dude. Here's my card. Give me a call. And when you get off work, come over and I'll teach you how to play bass." And Miss Sanctuary started with me, Lenny, and Sean. And it took us years before we found the right drummer and singer. But once Worrell got in, I was like, okay, I'm in for good now. Big glam scene going on back then too. I was in some different bands with performers like Lane Staley and Jerry Cantrell and stuff. So naturally, Alice in Chains and Nevermore became pretty close friend bands in Seattle and stuck together. But it was a big explosive scene, and there were times where I got fed up with Sanctuary and left and would join the glam band, and then they would get a good singer, and when they got Worrell, I said, "No, I'm back." They were recording, and they found me in a studio with a glam band and asked me if I wanted to do some recording with Sanctuary. When I heard Worrell's voice, I said, "Yes, but I want in 100%. And so I became a full band at that point with Worrell and Dave and me and Lenny and Sean. Good times, good memories.
What can you say about the first album, Refuge Dynamite?
It was kind of magic. You know, back then we spent a lot of time on demos, played in the scene in Seattle, became quite big, and was fortunate enough. The story is that Lenny went to a concert to meet King Diamond, ended up meeting Dave Mustaine, gave him a sample of our music and a sample of another magical substance, and they became friends. And next thing I knew, Dave Mustaine told Lenny he wanted to produce a band and he wanted to produce us, and he was going to fly us to LA when he got back from tour. So I told Lenny, "Don't hold your breath. You'll never hear from him again." But magically we got home. He got home from his tour and called us and flew us down to LA, and we started shopping for labels, and that's where the magic all began. We owe a lot of our career to Dave Mustaine. He took us under his wing and taught us how to tour and be professional touring musicians. So he polished us up and put us on a road, and then we fell apart.
And how about Into the Mirror Black?
Yeah, that was really a magical experience as well. You know, we got the sophomore release out of our way and started thinking about, you know, the next record. And at that time I was staying with Worrell, and I got to see how he went through the process of writing. So like in the middle of the night, one night I got up at 3 a.m. and I could hear something in the kitchen. I go out there and Worrell's scratching on paper with pen. And I turn on the light because it was in the dark. And I go, "Worrell, wow, you're up writing?" And he just looked at me and looked through me and went back to writing. And I said, "Okay." I just went back to sleep. When I woke up the next day, he had the lyrics for the song Epitaph, which was written, co-written, he says, by his father who passed away, but that he was channeling the music from his father and the words. And now I'm kind of channeling from him. So it continues. I've always had kind of a supernatural life, a lot of paranormal in my life. So it didn't faze me at all. I said, "Awesome." And yeah, of course, we all know that song Epitaph turned out to be, I think, one of the better ones. But yeah, it was just magic. Faded memories, but those seem to be etched pretty clearly in my mind.
Mhm.
Talking about it now.
I love the video from Future Tanks. This video
Yeah,
marked my life.
that was our very first video with Nevermore. We did lots of them like that, but we got in Jeeps and drove way up into the mountains of southern LA after, it looks like sand, but that was after a forest fire, so it's all ashes. And we just set up some big speakers, and it was kind of awkward air guitaring and kicking
Uh-huh.
dust, and it was our first experience of really being rugged with a video shoot. If you
Mhm.
go into a house in a studio, it's warm, it's cozy. But when you're like, walking up a mountain, or, carrying gear and rock boots up to the site to do a video shoot, and you're saying, oh my God, this is rugged. And then you see the camera assistants or the key grips carrying twice your load, you feel ashamed, like, oh, I got this. But those videos always seem to be in a lot more rewarding, I guess, because of all the work you put into them. And that was one where we literally had to climb a mountain to shoot that video.
Sanctuary took a long break and released its third album in 2014, the year the sun died. What can you say about this album, this return of the band?
It just felt right at the time. Sanctuary had, kind of I guess a lot of friction in the breakup, and it took us a long time just to talk to each other again. But after we experienced, the loss of great talent, if you find chemistry, and World and Lenny had songwriting chemistry, hang on to it. I mean, you might not always like the people you have to work with, but it's a job, and hang on to it. And then, in the situation with Nevermore, we appreciated that a lot more. By the time we got back to Sanctuary, we really appreciated it. And it was just a blessing to be able to work with those musicians again and record one more Sanctuary record before Worrell passed away.